It's Andrea from IPR.
How are you?
Good. I'm using your name of record just for the recording purposes.
Oh, that's fine.
Um,
Just so you know, I'm recording this also.
okay, great. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
very pleased that you're recording it. Thank you.
yeah, we get it transcribed for the file because there's a number of people who kind of, go through all the steps. So it's part of being able to get a good record.
Dandy.
Yeah. So you submitted a complaint, and it looks like I had a chance to review the video that you sent in with that as well. And you wrote quite a bit in your written submission, but for best practice purposes, I wanted to talk to you as well. So, if you don't mind, I think the best way to start is for you to just kind of walk me through what happened that day from your perspective.
Sure. I got ready about an hour early, like I usually do before I go out and document a protest, and I got geared up, got my camera equipment stuff ready. I got my clothes on. I showed up about 30 minutes before the protest started, and I planned out in my head how I would go about covering things. I wanted to try to interview some folks on the Patriot Prayer side of things. Um, so that was the first stuff I wanted to shoot was get some of that stuff, and um, I went down. I was traveling with my friend Nate, and I tried to I talked to a female officer way earlier before the video started, and asked her what was going on with the different sections that were roped off. And I don't remember exactly what she said about the different sections. I remember that she said that the section in the middle, they were going to be allowing people that were gonna, that were kind of neutral to be in, and then the section towards towards my furthest most left where I was standing would be for the counter protest, and then the other side would be for the Patriot Prayer folks. And I just milled about like I normally do, and shot video and talked to people. And then at one point, I tried to follow some mainstream corporate journalist people through into the middle section where they were allowing people to interact with the Patriot Prayer folks, because I wanted to get those interviews and talk to people I wanted to talk to, to get those on the record. Because I was there in the capacity of a journalist. I was there working for PNAC News. They had me collecting, footage for them. Um, so let's see. I tried to go through a gated area where they were allowing media through, and Sergeant Mauru um closed that area off, and me and a lady from TV News, I forget which station, I think it was Coin 6 maybe, kind of complained at Maru, and I explained to him that I'm the press, and got kind of upset at him. I was, uh, borderline being really rude at that point because the gate was closed in front of me. And then Maru explained to me that, if I walked to the end of the fence line and walked under the police tape, that I could go through there, and that's where media could go through. And I said, I double confirmed with him, and he explained it. So I walked in and I tried to go under the police tape, and then immediately I was noticed by Officer Curtis, a female officer. I'm not 100% on her name. I think the female officer might be Carriage, but don't quote me
like
on that.
like the like the like a carriage, like the buggy,
Yeah,
like kind
like
of going,
a
or
pram or a baby carriage. I think that may have been
okay,
Officer Carriage, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know definitely that that was Curtis that saw me. Curtiss.
hmm
Um, and a sergeant whom called me by my pseudonym Mike, because I'm very well known to Portland Police Bureau. A lot of them know me. I know a lot of them, and am on a friendly first name basis with quite a few of them. I've been doing a project called Film the Police Portland for nearly 6 years now, and I've documented hundreds and hundreds of police encounters with the public. My main YouTube channel has 1,700 videos on it, and nearly all of them are all police encounters and police interacting with the public. Um, Over that time, I've got to know quite a few of the officers, especially Central Precinct. You know, that's where I do a bulk of my video work that I do. You know, any of the who. So the sergeant that knew me by name, I don't know who he is. Like, he just knows me by reputation, I guess. But Curtis immediately put his hands on me and physically pushed me back out of the area that I was told by Sergeant Maru that I could go into and talk to people and do my interviews. Like, from the very beginning. I was very meticulous in my complaints, and I have there's a slideshow at the end. If you remember the video, everything is very well time coded, so you can skip around in the video and go to each key point that I showed you in still photos for your convenience. I hope that helped you. But Curtis immediately, grabbed me, and he told me I wasn't the press, and I'm not media. And Curtis knows full well that, I'm the press. Like, I've gone all over the country covering issues of, civil unrest or police accountability type issues. My footage has been featured on Coin 6. It's been on Fox 12. One of the things that I find most infuriating about this whole thing is that I was told more than once by officers that I'm with the counter protest. Okay, do you remember last year when those right-wing people took over the bird refuge in Malheur?
Yeah.
I went out there. I went out there to the bird refuge, and I interviewed Ammon and Ryan Bundy and a few of those other folks, and went out there as a journalist and covered that. So if I had some sort of an interest, in counter-protesting against people on the right, I would not have done that.
Right.
Because you don't get more right-wing than armed militia people taking over a bird refuge. Okay, so I mean, it really, really bothers me that not only that they were telling me that I'm not a journalist, but they've got physical with me multiple times. If they were not cops, they could have been arrested for harassment and felony coercion. But I'll see what becomes of this complaint that I made, and I'm thinking of other remedies, but that's in the future. But my complaint is about them physically putting their hands on me, them violating my First Amendment right as a journalist. I am fully willing to be arrested. If they thought I was doing something illegal, they should have arrested and charged me.
Because I heard you saying that, and then I heard them saying that they didn't want to arrest you, or something along those lines. I think. No.
Yeah, I was told that no, they're not going to arrest me, or we don't want to. Now, my thought was, I'm willing if they think I'm doing something illegal, but I was doing what everyone else was doing as a journalist. Like I said, I've documented hundreds and hundreds of interactions with the public with Portland Police Bureau, and not once have I ever been charged with interfering. I've never physically gotten their way, ever. it's infuriating, especially the putting their hands on me. I mean, Curtis pushed and had his knuckles grinding into my chest and pushed and pulled on me a little multiple times. You know, and they're all very well
Okay.
documented. Like, they shouldn't be doing that. Also, the sergeant that finally ordered officers to push me back into the counter protester side
And that's
didn't.
the sergeant that you don't know who that was,
Right,
correct?
sergeant who I called Sergeant No Name, or yeah,
And
he
he ordered Curtis to push you back?
he ordered one of the other officers, two of them, to push me out finally, and he called the officers, or one of them by name, and they put their
Oh, that was when you were out on the bike line, because Curtis sort of had you,
right. Curtis
you
pushed
know.
me out of the police tape area from behind it where the media was, and then finally the sergeant, whom didn't have his name tag, which is a Portland Police Bureau policy violation, by the way. They're supposed to
Did
have.
he not have it, or was it covered up by something? I watched the video a couple days ago, so sorry, I'm not like
It's
professional.
fine. I looked at it very closely and I could not see it, like in the video. I think he either didn't have it or it was obscured by something where you couldn't see one letter of it. Because I went through the video very carefully and couldn't see his name tag at all.
Okay.
You know, you're gonna have to look at it yourself to see if it was a policy violation. But I believe it was. Um, for precisely this reason, I can't identify him, and I want to make a complaint. You know, that's why they have name tags. There's an exemption if their supervisor exempts them from having the name tag. You know, but they have to, write out paperwork about it. But I don't know. But that's about it. You know, that I have to complain about is the trampling of my rights, and the physically, harassing me. Because in Oregon, harassment is unwanted physical touching. It's like pushing people or shoving them.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Of course,
Like,
I
more
was looking
specific?
forward to that.
Okay, so the first one I want to know is that, you came into contact with a number of officers in all of this. Are there specific officers or sergeants that you have concerns about misconduct with, or is it all of them? And if so, if you don't mind elaborating, obviously Officer Curtis is the one. Is that the one officer who came into contact with you physically?
Officer Curtis, I want to complaint against him because I believe that was just uncalled for. Especially him saying I'm not the media and pushing me, and the female officer was pulling my arm backwards at the same time when I was first ejected out of the area where they were allowing media. So Curtis and her, and the sergeant, for ordering the officers to drag me out. Finally, I want to complain about him, the one without the name tag.
Okay. And so Sergeant Miro would be more of a witness, or because you named him, but
Yes.
do you have any concerns about his conduct?
No, I think Miro was merely trying to explain to me an alternate route. I think it was a bit rude that they closed it, and they may have done so. They may have closed that gate because of me, but it's just conjecture. I don't know if they did, but I don't have any issue with Myru. No.
Okay. So it's those three. It's Curtis, and then an unknown female officer and an unknown sergeant.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was two officers that were pushing on me to get me behind the bike line into the quote-unquote counter-protest side. Like, if you can find that one's name, I would like to complain against him too. Because, I mean, like I said, if I do something illegal, I expect to be arrested. I mean, do it, and we'll let a jury of my peers decide,
Is there any reason why you, because there are things you could have done, and this is just, I'm totally just curious, because you could have, laid down or sat down or done other things that may have made it more difficult for them to move you and, sort of force the issue more. Sort of what was your decision-making process in eventually allowing them to.
Well, it's my understanding of Oregon law that passive resistance is legal if you're protesting. You know, like, but I wasn't protesting. I was there as a journalist. So, you know, if I would have resisted the force being pushed against me, I had to provide counterforce as they were shoving me. Can you still hear me?
How hard would you say that? Yeah. How hard would you say that they were shoving you?
I would have been shoved over. I had to struggle to stay upright.
And was that when Officer Curtis pushed you, or every time that happened?
That was when the first time that Curtis pushed me. If I didn't, you know, lower my stance a bit as they're pushing me backwards, I could have very easily been pushed over. And then the second time, I could have very easily been pushed over to the ground as well.
Okay.
And I was afraid that if I would have, you know, resisted physically, that they would have arrested me for, you know, escalating use of force continuum. I felt coerced and manipulated, you know, into complying.
Okay. So you were concerned they would arrest you?
I was concerned that they would hurt me.
How so? Like, just kind of moved up?
Like physically. If you, well, here's something that's interesting about the law. Did you know that you can get arrested for resisting arrest and have that be your only charge?
Yeah, I've not.
Right on. So yeah, so it not being a lawful arrest is no legal defense in court in Oregon. So all these consequences were going through my head. You know, what if I squirm? What if I struggle while they're pushing me? You know, like I'd be in more legal trouble. So I felt as if though they were abusing the color of law of the color of the authority of their uniforms to manipulate me into not documenting. Because when they get into it with protesters, when Portland Police Bureau have physical confrontations with protesters, it's one of the primary times when use of force gets south of cheese, and that's a very salient fact in their mind, is that they're willing to, you know, try to obstruct my ability to document more often than not during protests, because, you know, they're trying to keep their image, you know, as pristine as possible. They you know, they're apprehensive about wanting to allow me to document when there's a protest. And I think that's what was happening, is that they didn't want me filming.
Have there been other times when you've been restricted from filming, or is this the first time you've encountered this?
This is the first time I've encountered this.
And in other times, have you, and it sounds like you haven't, but I'll ask the question, have you been part of the protest in prior, have you protested in prior cases where they would have seen you as a protester before?
You will be hard-pressed to find a picture of me with a protest sign in my hand. I have protested before in the past, but I'll give it to you in percentages. At the sheer volume of work I've done covering protests, I've probably 20% of the time maybe, like, been there in the capacity of a protester.
Okay.
I'm always documenting. Every one of all my videos are tagged "Film the Police Portland," and they're a piece of documentary filmmaking. Like I'll film the police encounters from beginning to end. Like, there is some overlap, but not enough for them to believe. They all know what Film the Police Portland is. You know, I go on patrol nearly every single weekend, document police behavior, and upload it. And I do it. I do it as objectively as possible. I mean, I have a bias towards police accountability,
right.
But I mean, there's a video I just uploaded entitled, voicing an officer safety concern. And the entire subject of the video is about my concerns about officers possibly being hurt.
Right.
And when cops do good things that I see out in public, there's videos where I'm thanking them in the title of the video.
Mm-hmm. And do you just film Portland police, or do you go to other agencies as well?
I went to Ferguson out in Missouri when that happened and documented the civil unrest there. I've covered everything that went on during the Occupy movement. I went to Philadelphia, Oakland during the Occupy movement, covering those protests. I went to the RNC, this most recent RNC, out in New Jersey. Well, that part of the country. I've gone all over the country, like doing this kind of stuff.
Okay. And then I want to make sure that I get some details specifically, because one of the things that I couldn't see on the video is exactly where in each of the instances where an officer made physical contact with you, where their hands were, because your camera was facing forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when Officer Curtis put his hands on you, was it both hands, one hand, and where on your body? If you remember.
I'd have to review the video because it was multiple times that he grabbed and pushed on me, but I believe the first time it was both hands on my chest. It was all my upper torso where he touched me the whole time. Every single time he touched me, it was my upper torso area.
Okay. And what about the other officers on the bike line?
Female officer, I believe she had me by my arm or my clothes at my chest, somewhere upper body too.
Okay.
And she was assisting Curtis to pull me backwards.
And then the officers on the bike line?
Upper chest too.
Okay.
And the mystery sergeant that ordered them to push me backwards, I want my complaint about him for ordering them to remove me. He said, and I quote, he tells me that I'm not the press and I'm not media. And I asked him, like, why not? And he's all, I've known you for years, and I know exactly what side you're on. Mm-hmm. You're with the counter protest. Like, I've never protested those right-wing people. Like, you won't ever see me with a sign that says "Love Trump's Hate" or any of that.
Okay. Have you filed a complaint with us before?
I have not. Never.
Okay.
Not in 6 years that I've been filming the police.
Okay. I mean, I know that, being somebody who is adjacent to all this stuff, you probably know a little bit about how IPR works, but what I want to do is get a letter in the mail to you that's your sort of initial contact letter, and normally it goes out a little sooner once you receive the complaint, but I wanted to talk to you before I sent it just to make sure I had your complaint down before I sent it, but it'll have sort of a summary of the steps that come next.
Are we done with the interview part?
Is there anything else that you can think of that I need to know or you want to add?
No, I think that's perfect.